Hello everyone, welcome to AI for All. This is episode 0. Now, before you guys complain about the camera quality, I'm setting this up on a really old MacBook, so please don't mind that. This is just for episode 0. And in this episode, we are just going to understand AI a little bit. Then we will download Claude, we will download Codex. I'll keep the language simple enough that it does not matter whether you are a 0-year-old or like a 10-year-old or you're like an 80-year-old. You would still be able to do this and follow along with me. Now, before we get started, how did you end up here? Well, there can be 3 reasons that you ended up here. Number 1, you were not a qualified prospect for me to work with, hence you've been redirected to this series. Number 2 is you were a qualified prospect for me to work with you. However, unfortunately, due to a shortage of funds at this current stage of your business, you have decided to take the free route. It's completely fine. Number 3, you're organically stumbling upon this entire series, which is honestly pretty surprising and pretty interesting for me as well. Now, with those 3 things out of the way, let's get started. So first of all, welcome to the course. I will be going ahead and building out like age bracket by age bracket decisions and guidance for like how to use Claude, how to use Codex, what are these things even are. But for starting off, we need to understand what is AI, okay? And before I start, I just want you to know that I'm using Chrome, but you can use Safari, you can use Brave, you can use Firefox. Don't get ahead of yourselves. We will, clarify all of your queries. I will keep this very simple to understand. Should you not have any kind of questions, you can write to me, you can write down in the comments, and you would be able to follow along if you just rewind the video. Feel free to pause, do things at your own pace. There are no rules here. Now, AI is a really powerful tool. It stands for artificial intelligence. What does that mean? It means that it's not real intelligence actually. And the reason we add the word artificial in front of it is because it is predicting in nature. Let me kind of explain what that looks like. So imagine you say something along the lines of I, right? And then I use the word had, and then I say good. And what do you expect me to say now? You can say day, you can probably say meal, right? You can say multiple things right here. So it's this word right here is what AI is predicting. So it's a very good pattern matcher. It's a very good predictor of what comes next. There is no real intelligence happening here like it happens with human beings. We have infinite amounts of context. We actually learn, we actually do things, right? But this is not how AI works. AI at best is basically a prediction matching machine. In simple words, it is simply predicting the next word. And the way AI does this, although this is not important per se for the course itself or like this video series, is that it attaches, these numbers to it, right? These are all basically, you can say, random codes that get attached. Again, not going into too much detail. There is that this is how it kind of works, right? Because again, machines, AI, a computer does not exactly understand words. It understands numbers to some extent. And that's about it. And then based on these numbers right here, these numbers that are here are basically what dictate what this number can be. What can this one be? And based on that, we would come to an answer. So this is how we decide that, hey, you actually wanted to say day right here, right? This is how it's basically getting decided at the end of the day. Now, based on this altogether, what we understand is that AI is very good at understanding, at predicting, not necessarily understanding, simply guessing. Now, coming back, this is what the role of AI is. And let me go a little bit side to also talk about this. AI is not going to take your job. And the simple reason is that it cannot think for itself. You have to do the thinking. When we are embarking on this journey, it is very important for you. And I cannot stress this enough because this has happened to pretty much everyone I know, despite how much you warn them, despite how much you speak against it. Do not let it do the thinking for you. You cannot ask it to brainstorm ideas without you having ideas of your own. You cannot ask it to think on your behalf. So read your emails, okay, when they arrive, because AI can answer them. I'm not saying that it cannot, but it will give a very bad answer. Write your own bullet points when you have to prepare any kind of presentation or report, depending on what age you are. Whenever you're understanding a topic, make sure you go through the headlines yourself of your textbook, for example, if you're still a teenager. Make sure, you're reading at least the tax returns once after AI has filled them for you, if you are a middle-aged guy, right, or a middle-aged woman. Now, based on that, now that we have clarified that do not let it do the thinking for you. Actually go in and investigate, and it's best to start off with something. We are now prepared to download Claude and download Codex. Now, allow me to differentiate between the two of them. Claude has become popular now in 2026, I would say. Late 2025 is when it had its real boom. And the important thing about Claude is that Claude is very good at sounding more human as compared to Codex or ChatGPT. You may have used ChatGPT before. We're going to understand what Codex is in a moment as well. But you need to understand that Claude was a really big revolution because it sounded more human. It sounded like you were talking to a friend, because the company behind Claude actually set a constitution for Claude, right? So it's not something that's just learning from your conversation. It's also something that has learned from the constitution that the company put in place. So Claude is very good for, like, if you need somebody to review your strategy, if you need somebody to bounce ideas off, right? Plus, there are other benefits of Claude as well in terms of like the interface and how the app looks and feels. We will get into them in just about a moment. Now, Codex is the competitor. It comes from this company known as OpenAI. You may have heard of them, but you would have definitely heard of the other product that they built, which is called ChatGPT. So when ChatGPT came out back in 2022 or 2023, if I'm not mistaken, it basically took the world by storm. If you're watching this video, there's a very high chance you've already used ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is basically a general model, or how we put it is, it's a general tool for normal people to basically type in their queries and they get a response back, right? Codex is basically the ultra version of that. It can do very complex coding tasks for you. So this is very good, for example, for, you can say, general queries. This is when I'm talking about Claude, by the way, right? So this is very good for like general queries and things like strategy, things like content. It writes them like very, very well, right? So you can say strategy right here. You can say content. All of these are very good for Claude, right? Claude was developed by this company. This company is known as Anthropic. Anthropic before was a part of OpenAI. Like, the team basically defected and created their own company due to multiple reasons. They had a fallout with the founder of OpenAI, and that's the reason they have set up their own company. Now, so this is about Claude. Now, Codex, where it really shines, is as of 18th of June 2026, it is really good at coding. So coding is going to be a part of the future episodes that we're going to release, and we'll go into them as well. You do not need to know how to code. Would you believe me if I told you that I actually do not know how to write most of the code that I write, but I do know how to pilot it. And we will get into piloting as well in just about a moment, but you can basically start off even if you're not a technical person. This is the important part about both of these AI. You do not have to be technical to use both of them, okay? Now, coming back to Codex, it's very good at, as we mentioned, coding, but there's another thing it's very good at, which is efficiency. You see, if you have, let's just say 100 units, or let's just say if these were like chocolate pieces, 100 chocolate pieces of Claude will last you for a very short time as compared to 100 chocolate pieces of Codex. We can get into the details probably in like some future episodes, although I do not consider it important for this series. But Codex is just better if you're a little bit tight on budget as well. Don't worry, we will set up both of them together. So now, what have we established? We do understand the basics of AI, which is that it is artificial intelligence. It's not true intelligence, because at the end of the day, it's just prediction, right? So you cannot outsource your thinking to it. You can try to outsource brainstorming. You can try to outsource the process of generating new ideas, but your understanding will always remain between your two ears. So this is what you have to remember. I cannot stress this enough. I know I sound like a broken record, but I deal with a lot of people who get into AI, and this is the first thing that breaks for them. And they go through this whole period. It's actually a phenomena that we call AI psychosis. They go into this phenomena where they only trust AI. They do not trust their wives, their children, their fathers, their husbands. They stop trusting anyone in the world. For everything, they have to rely on AI. They cannot make decisions on their own. They get into this very weird state of analysis paralysis, and only after a much embarrassingly long time do they actually snap out of it. I know that because I've been there as well. Now, there are two main proponents that we're going to download again, Claude and Codex. Claude is very good for general inquiries, things like content, things like strategy. Codex is very good at efficiency and coding as well. Codex was developed by OpenAI. OpenAI has also developed ChatGPT, and Claude was developed by Anthropic. In the past, Anthropic was a part of OpenAI, like the team of Anthropic was a part of OpenAI, but due to founder disputes, they separated ways. Now, to the fun part. I know I've spent like 10 minutes preparing you for this, but trust me, down the line it would be worth it. Now we are going to actually download Claude as well as Codex both. And I'm going to do this live, so I've not practiced this at all. We're going to go claude.ai. Okay, this is what you have to go to, claude.ai. Now, you're going to see something like this, or a form of screen which is like this, depending on when you're watching this. And what I really recommend everyone does is just download the desktop app. This is a much simpler way, and this is the same exact way we are going to do this with Codex as well. Can you simply continue with Google? Yes, you can. But in order to harness the energy completely, we are going to need the download, like the desktop app itself, right? You can look at the pricing right here. For now, we are only going to be using the free version. It does not come with Claude Code and a lot of things for which you may have heard about Claude. They're in the Pro plan, in the Max plan, but we are simply going to remain on free just for the sake of it, okay? Then later on, when we do use Claude Code, I'm going to talk about it as well, and like why you should update, and like what's the real benefit right there. So let me just come here and we'll click on download desktop app. So while this is getting downloaded, let us also look at Codex. So we just simply put Codex right here. It's the first one that usually pops up. We'll again do the same thing, download from Mac OS. And both of these would get downloaded. Now we have to check it. It will be in the download section generally of your laptop. We will open one by one both of them. So first, let me just open up Claude. You have to drag and drop this in applications. If you're on Windows, this does not have to be a problem for you. You drop it right here. And if I go here, I just have to double click it after dragging and dropping it in applications. Again, you don't have to do this if you're on Windows. You say yes, open. You say move to applications. I seem to have more Claudes now than necessary. But we finally managed to make it open. So, the good thing about Mac is that even if you run into bugs like these, it's still okay. So this is what it looks like. It says Claude for Mac. We will click on get started. Now it will ask you to sign in with Google. And what I'll do is, I'll sign in with Google, but I'll sign in with an account of mine that does not have any of the pro plans or anything. Let me just log in because I'm signed out right now. This is the screen that you're going to see, and we are going to hit continue. Once we hit continue, it's going to sign us right in. And now the onboarding flow is pretty easy. This is what it looks like. They will try to upsell you. They will try to say, hey, buy the paid plan. And we will get to that later on, but just to try it out, we don't have to. We click on later and we'll be greeted with this kind of a screen, right? And you can see right here that it says free plan upgrade at the top, right? It says Claude Fable 5 is currently unavailable. That was like a future model of it. Whenever I say model is basically, you can say the version, for the lack of a better word. So we don't need this popular version, and don't worry, even if you were on the paid plan, you would still not be able to access this right now. So we do this. By default, you would be at Sonnet 4.6. This is how most of these AI companies label their models at this point of time. You can say it has model right here, name is Sonnet 4.6. It's really good for like balancing between, really deep thought tasks and speed. You have Haiku, which I probably never use because it's just there for like quick answers, but I don't really use them that much. You can check like how much effort you want to be put in for each of the tasks that you give it. But that's about it. So this is just like step one, okay? Cowork will not be available to you right now because you're on the free plan. Same thing goes with Code. Cowork and Code have a very interesting relationship. The user-friendly version, the non-technical version of Code is basically Cowork. That's it. That's the only difference between the two of them. But we will get to them one by one. Projects is basically where you can create folders in Claude for specific areas of your life. Like for example, relationships, for example, health, financials, your own business. And the idea is that anything that you upload here, like if you create a new project, what you would be very much able to do is you can name your project. I just made a test. This is a test. You can name it whatever you want. You'll create a project. And what happens is that you can drop files in there. So let's just say your business requires like you follow certain SOPs. So you can just drag your files in there, and whenever you chat now within this project, it will be able to reference them across all of the chats as well, right? Artifacts is basically, you building things within Claude. We'll come to that later on in future episodes. Same things with customize. We will discuss skills, connectors, all of these things later on in the future episodes as we go as well, right? And then what we have right now is basically a complete, normal stuff that would be available for anyone. What should the model call you, any instructions you want to give to Claude, stuff like that. But now, if you're watching here, what I want to help you do is actually take your very first step. So if I go here back to chat, I'll say, hi, I'm new to Claude. What can you do? Right? This is what I would say. And now what is happening is that your machine is feeding this to Anthropic, the parent company, and the parent company is running those models. Right now it is Sonnet 4.6, right? It's running those models on this. The model is taking the entire string of words, attaching numbers to it, and generating this answer. When I say generate, it means predict. So it is, all of this is basically a prediction. Every word, Claude, if Claude was a person and you would show this entire paragraph to it, it would not understand it, because it would be like, what is this? Even though it himself wrote it, it's because it's all numbers and prediction at the end of the day. So that's why do not confuse this beautiful introduction or beautiful welcome as understanding. It's not, right? So this is basically how Claude would introduce himself to you. You can chat further, you can pause the video if you want, you can chat further, understand a little bit about what it can do, but we will get into that later as well in like future episodes. Now let's open up Codex, right? Now I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because I used a tool to open up Codex, which may not be something that you have installed. So we're going through here. Again, I'm seeing codex.dmg right here. In other cases, it can also be in the download section, of your computer as well. We're going to go to Codex. I just click it from here. Let's see what happens. It says install classics, double click the icon below. So I'll double click it. It's going to load, takes a little bit of time. I'll say, hey, do you trust this from the internet? I'll say, yes, we trust it. Then it will install Codex. It says installing Codex. Now both of these are heavy, so of course, please ensure you have some space on your PC or Mac or wherever you're using them. You can also download the ChatGPT app on your iOS or Android, and the Claude app on your iOS and Android as well. Although I usually prefer using, PC for things like these. Oh, so you can see it has actually opened up to one of my existing, email IDs. So I'll just log out right here really quick so that I can show you what it looks like if you're starting out fresh. Okay. So I'll say continue with ChatGPT. Okay. And this is where they will ask you, okay, you have to create an account. So one thing very important to realize is, like I said, ChatGPT and Codex are basically like from the same company, right? And as a result of that, if you have a ChatGPT paid plan, you technically also have a Codex paid plan, which is like the best thing about it. On top of that, the bad thing is that both of those exist separately in the app, although OpenAI, the company behind both of them, are now talking about merging the two of them as of 18th of June 2026. Now, a phone number is required, so we're just going to log ourselves in like that. By the way, just a little tip, if you are signing in with your phone number, because Codex will require you to verify your phone number, they are legally required to do so, try to choose WhatsApp as the way to receive your OTP, because that one just arrives like much faster. Then we're going to click continue. It's going to show you something like this, that it wants to open this application, so you just click okay, open Codex, right? And now you can see that this is what it looks like. Now I do have like some of my past projects right here because those files still existed on my computer, but I don't need to actually showcase any of that to you for you to understand what is happening. Do you now see what is happening? It is very similar to Claude. Technically, it's still a chatbot, you can see that the model is right here. Like for example, this is GPT 5.4. So this is how OpenAI is labeling its models. They add the word GPT and then 5 point something, right? Right now we're at 5. It can also go up to 6. And you can see that all of these are also available on Claude. These are all different models, different versions, all good for different things. Usually the latest one is the best one. So we are just going to stick to that. Like, hi. And you can see that, it's showing me that I'm using a folder, but you would be like, wait a second, I did not see any folders here. Correct. And the reason behind that is that Claude is more general purpose in that sense, that it has a version of this as well. Like this screen that you're seeing with Codex, Claude does have that. It's just in Claude code, right? You might be wondering, where is this clean interface for Codex? That is in ChatGPT. If you go to ChatGPT, you can just begin typing and you don't have to worry. For now, we can just say, don't work in a project, right? And now we're going to say, hi, I'm new to Codex. What can you do? Same exact question. And also you can see that again, just like reasoning, you could control the reasoning there. You can still control the effort here. So it's called reasoning right here, but here it's called effort, right? So we're just going to like, what did we use here? We used medium, right? So we'll just use medium or low. Honestly, in the beginning, it does not matter, but this is what we're going to say. And let's say, so you'll see it's first setting up the workspace, preparing everything. It will take a little bit longer than Claude because it's a little bit more powerful in this version of it as compared to this version of Claude, but it will still give its reply. And while it is doing that, go ahead, explore. There are no limitations on you. I've not asked you to buy any paid plan up until this point because you don't need it. So don't go ahead and think that you cannot do this simply because you are not a technical person. Nothing in this entire thing has been technical the whole time. Probably the most technical part was actually installing the software, which I've covered in sufficient detail. And the second most technical part was, of course, receiving the OTP for verification, right? And you can see that it's giving me an error, right? ChatGPT 5.4 more is not supported when using Codex with a ChatGPT account. Well, that is bad news because you know what that means? That means that we may not be able to use this. Hi, can I not use Codex on free model? This is actually new. This is the first time I'm seeing that, even like because I'm recording this and it's like completely fine. So now apparently you cannot use Codex with a ChatGPT account if it's on free plan. So we will have to upgrade for Codex, but you can best assume that you would have received something like this. Again, all prediction, not understanding, and a little bit worse written than this because Claude usually does a very good job. Now I'm going to stop this video right here before it gets like super long, but we have established a couple of things. So let's go back to them one by one. Okay. We understood what was AI, right? A prediction model. Then we understand the difference between Claude as well as Codex. Claude is really good for general queries. It's really good for content, good for strategy. Codex is really good for coding and efficiency. You can, in fact, by the way, see from the way it's structured, it's a little bit more, technical and advanced looking. So it can scare you off a little bit. Don't worry about it. We'll do like in-depth walkthroughs of like both the platforms later on as well. In Claude, it was developed by Anthropic. And similar to that, Codex was developed by OpenAI. OpenAI developed basically, like Claude is basically a comparison of ChatGPT plus Codex because Claude also has the capabilities of, or you can say capabilities corresponding to ChatGPT. It's almost as powerful as ChatGPT plus Codex combined. That does not inherently mean Claude is better because it's like, one is great, one together can take down two. That's not the right way to think about it. Right, and Codex is really good for coding as well as efficiency. Team at Anthropic was formerly a part of OpenAI itself, right? Now, Codex particularly, unfortunately, we cannot use with a free account, which is, really, really sad because at one point of time, you could actually use it with the free account as well. But on the other hand, you can still use Claude completely for free. But it's the same as understanding that, you can use ChatGPT without paying anything, right? I mean, a lot of us do not pay for it. If you're watching this video, you're into AI, you may have not paid for it. So it's completely fine. It's seeing that you cannot use this on a free version is very similar to Claude saying that you cannot use Claude Code or Claude Cowork on the free plan itself. So this was the video. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. But that was basically my first, or you can say episode 0 almost, of AI for all. And I hope it benefits anyone who's watching. And I hope you were able to follow along. Again, the entire series, we are going to keep it very simple to understand, very easy. If I use any complex word, I'll try to break it down to the best of my ability. If you still don't understand it, leave it in the comments. I'll try to explain it from there on out.